Welcome to the basics video where I go over the basics of the phone that the average person will care about. This video is for the Apple iPhone XS Max. Feel free to check out my specs video for a more detailed explanation of this phone. This Apple-made iPhone XS Max has two 12 megapixel back cameras along with a 7 megapixel front camera. Just like the iPhone X, this camera is amazing and it is said to be the best camera on an iPhone, which is true, but not by much. The photos look amazing during the day, but I had a few issues. Taking low light pictures concerns me a little bit because I'm seeing a lot of pixelization on images that were taken a few minutes after the sunset. Another issue is that it seems that some of the 2x shots seem to be digitally zoomed rather than optically. I was under the impression that this was the reason that they added a second camera. As for the front camera, it looks the same, but I did notice some weird situations. It seems that the camera adds more light to your face, even though that's not the desired option. Not sure if a software update will change this, but hopefully it does. The front camera can capture 1080p video at 60 frames per second, which is pretty cool. It does lack optical image stabilization, but it's not that bad. Honestly, if you're using this phone for vlogging, you won't really notice the lack of optical image stabilization. Pretty cool. If you've owned or used the iPhone X, you'll see that there's only a small boost in performance, but I guess the front camera issue may be a little bit irritating for some. The 60 frames per second front camera is cool, but the rest of it pretty much is the same thing that the iPhone X has. There is one other improvement with the portrait camera, and that's that you can change the depth after you take the picture. This works with the front camera as well as the back camera. It's kinda cool, but also it might be a gimmick. Either way, it'll help make your portrait shots pop a little more. The camera is pretty close to the iPhone X, so it'll get a 9.25 out of 10. iOS 12 is a software filled with minor updates from iOS 11, and that's not a bad thing. Apple's had many issues when updating phones in the past, leaving them either useless or very slow. But with iOS 12, it seems like they're making devices operate how they should, but that might be because they speed up the animations. Like I said in the specs video, the noteworthy additions are Memojis, screen time, and group notifications. With this said, in the whole spectrum of things, they are very minor things and shouldn't be a reason to update. But we are talking about the iPhone XS Max right now, so let's talk about what makes the phone better than the iPhone X. The only issue is that I can't, because there aren't really too many reasons to update. Honestly, this update has me lost because I really don't feel like it's a major release. Apple could have called this iOS 11.5 and got away with it. To be fair, most updates are in the background, like faster app launching, FaceTime encryption, and better Siri responses.
I'm not sure I understand.
I know I kind of ruined this category, but there really isn't much to talk about. Either way, the software is solid and gets an 8 out of 10. Even though this is the biggest battery in an iPhone, the performance is still decent. At 3,174 milliamps, this phone is made to last all day, and that's about it. You might be able to stretch it out to 2 days, but it'll be terrible trying to do that. Given the weight of the phone, it would be a little bit difficult for Apple to put a bigger battery in here because it would make it weigh a lot more, so it kind of makes sense why they did this. Still, I'm a little bit disappointed. After 10 hours and 58 minutes of usage, my phone was left with 24%, and 3 hours and 16 minutes of that was screen on time. Another day I got 13 hours of usage with 6% remaining, and 3 hours and 25 minutes of that was screen on time. Another day I got 14 hours and 19 minutes of usage out of the battery with 18% remaining, and 3 hours and 35 minutes of that was screen on time. All of these figures are with the brightness all the way up. The phone does support fast charging, but only if you have the right charger. On average, I saw that the iPhone charged about 25% faster when using the 61 watt plug when compared to the 12 watt iPad chargers. You should be able to get a full charge in less than 2 hours, but it'll probably take 3 hours or so with the 5 watt charger that comes in the box. You can wirelessly charge this phone, but it seems to take a decent amount of time. Only time will tell how well this battery will hold up, but if it's anything like the iPhone X, you shouldn't have to worry too much about the battery degrading quickly. I wish that the battery was a little bit better, but it does get you through the day. Given the size of the battery and the phone, I will give the battery category a 7.75 out of 10. So for this category, we will compare the phone to the iPhone X and the iPhone 8 Plus. When compared to the iPhone X, there is a minor design change on the top and the bottom with the antenna bars, along with having a much larger frame and screen. When compared to the iPhone 8 Plus, the back camera setup is landscape rather than horizontal. The frame is made out of stainless steel as opposed to aluminum. The power button is larger and is now called a side button. And the home button and 5.5-inch LCD screen is gone and has been replaced with a 6.5-inch OLED screen with a notch in it. Touch ID is gone and has been replaced with Face ID, just like on the iPhone X, which is supposed to be a little bit faster. The screen ratio was a little bit different than the iPhone XS Max, but overall the actual frame size stays the same, except for the fact that the iPhone XS Max is a little bit heavier. For both phones, the processor, GPU, and RAM were upgraded, moving from the A11 to the A12 chip, along with 3GB to 4GB of RAM. The battery size has increased by 483 mAh when compared to the iPhone 8 Plus, and 458 mAh when compared to the iPhone X. Lastly, there are minor additions like an IP68 rating. Moving from the iPhone X is a small upgrade, while moving from the iPhone 8 Plus is a decent upgrade, so this category will receive a 7 out of 10. As always, glass is glass. Since the screen is an OLED display, it's not going to be cheap to replace. And if you drop it hard enough, it will break regardless of what Apple says. Screen replacements will cost the same regardless if you break just the glass or the OLED under it, and will run you about $540 to fix it yourself, or $329 for Apple to fix it for you. The camera lens will run you roughly $75 to fix, or about $10 to do it yourself. If you're wondering, yes, these do break, but they probably won't break on their own. If the back panel is the same as the iPhone X, it's going to be very difficult to fix. Apple will fix it for about $599, but what they're going to do is replace the phone altogether, or you can get it fixed by a third party for about $150 to $250. The charging port can be replaced and will cost about $20 to do it yourself, or $85 for a third party to do it for you. They're pretty difficult to break, but I guess it is possible. If the batteries are anything like the iPhone X, it will run you about $30 to do it yourself, or $70 for Apple to fix it for you. With this said, the batteries seem to last a while, so you won't really have to worry too much about this when it comes to long-term owning. With all this said, Apple can fix all these issues, but most of these repairs are going to be cheaper if fixed by yourself or a third party. Also, it should be known that any repairs that you're doing on this phone will most likely ruin the water resistance of the phone, even if Apple fixes it. They don't guarantee liquid damage, but they do attempt to make the phone water resistant again. Overall, I would say that the iPhone XS Max gets a 6.25 out of 10 for the durability and repair cost category. Now, should you buy this phone? With a score of 76.5%, I believe that you should consider this phone if you can get over the $1,100 price tag. This phone that I have was $1,300, and I think I paid way too much for this phone. It is an amazing phone, but if it had a similar price tag to the iPhone 8 Plus, it would get a better score. Also, this phone doesn't come with a headset jack in any form, for $1,100. I hope you learned something from these videos, but now I want to learn something from you. Do you think that Apple is making more money off these phones than they should? Let me know in the comment section or on Twitter at MattofRWR, and feel free to follow me on the social media listed above. Also, subscribe to my channel so you can see more review videos, and hit that bell button so you know when they come out. Thanks for watching.